Hudson's Bay has been a staple in Canada for centuries.
I think it's really sad because it's so old. It's just been around for so long. It's kind of an iconic Canadian brand.
It's a retail brand steeped in nostalgia for generations of Canadian kids.
We used to get all of our toys as a kid from Toys R Us. It wasn't really other places to get them from, right?
But times have definitely changed. Those former Toys R Us kids no longer have many places to shop.
They say the economy is growing, but when you drive through your community or even to the one next door, does it actually look like that? So the next time you head out, run a simple test. Drive down the main commercial strip, walk past that plaza where you used to grab a pizza on Friday nights, and take a lap around your local mall or strip plaza, if it's even still open. And what do you see? Papered over windows for lease signs that have probably been hanging there for months, parking lots half empty on a Saturday afternoon. Well, since we're talking about restaurants, Ontario has the largest restaurant industry in Canada with over 41,900 establishments and close to 500,000 employees. They report that sales are up. The headlines say growth is strong, yet more than half of the restaurants reported that they are not profitable because costs are climbing, menu prices have jumped roughly 13%, and staff shortages are constant. So yes, revenue may be rising, but survival, well, that's another story. The place that once felt like the heartbeat of your community are quietly disappearing. And it's very unsettling. You feel it in your gut, like something just doesn't add up. It feels very eerie out there. Then you obviously turn on the news and of course it's the same scripted lines. The economy is resilient, the labor market is strong, Canada is growing. And then you start to question yourself. Why does your town or city feel like it's slowly shutting down? Why is your favorite bakery closing? Why does everyone you know feel stretched to the limit? Sometimes the numbers tell one story, but see, your own eyes will tell another. The eye test is always right. What we are witnessing is the slow, painful extinction of the Canadian small business. The private sector, the engine that actually pays for our hospitals and schools, is sputtering. And today, I will show you the reports. So we're going to connect the dots between empty storefronts, shrinking paychecks, and a government sector that keeps expanding while the productive economy contracts. Okay, so let's get into the evidence. So let's start with jobs. If people don't have good jobs, they don't spend money. If they don't spend money, small businesses die. Very elementary, and it's just that simple. You'll hear headlines about jobs being added, but when you look closer, payroll employment from December 2024 to December 2025 are down 28,300 jobs. That's not an abstract. That's thousands of families who went from stable, predictable incomes to uncertainty. And remember, payroll employment isn't gig work. It's not your side hustles. It's steady T4 mortgage qualifying income. So in a year, when we added over 1 million people to this country, we lost stable jobs. More people, fewer steady jobs. That's not economic strength. That is clearly dilution. And even if you keep your job, are you actually getting ahead? Because when you look at wage growth versus core inflation, well, our wages are trying to catch up. Now they've crossed back under inflation. That's the silent pay cut. You get a 2% raise, but your rent goes up to 8%. Your insurance climbs to 10%. Your groceries climb up again. Gas is up again. On paper, you got a raise, but in reality, I'm sorry, you're actually poor. That blue line crossing below the red line, that's purchasing power evaporating. That's the family that you eat out twice a week, cutting it back down to possibly once a week or maybe once a month. And your kid's hockey registration is now becoming a maybe next year. That's the gym membership that you canceled quietly. Small businesses don't fail because people hate them. They're closing because consumers are forced to choose between survival over spending. Now let's talk about making things. A healthy economy produces. You can't just trade homes back and forth forever. You need an industry. Manufacturing output, shipments, employment, all have been trending down since 2023. We've effectively been in a manufacturing recession for nearly 2 years. Over 40,000 manufacturing jobs lost in a single year. These are good jobs, skilled trades, union roles, jobs that supported mortgages and families. They're disappearing. And look deeper at that sector breakdown chart. Goods producing industries like manufacturing, wholesale, transport, they're all showing negative. These are the arteries of a functioning economy. So if trucks aren't moving, if factories aren't humming, if suppliers aren't shipping, that's not a soft patch. That's the economy pulling back. Meanwhile, public administration is showing a positive. Now let's pause here for a second because see, public administration doesn't generate exports. It doesn't create tradable goods. It's funded by tax revenue that comes from the productive side of the economy. So when we see goods producing sectors shrinking while government payrolls expand, that's not neutral. This is a temporary wobble. It's a fundamental imbalance. It's like loading more passengers onto one side of the boat while the motor is quietly losing power. Now, let's talk about small business owners. When asked what's stopping them from growing, the top answer is financial situation. Otherwise, that's a polite way of saying cash flow is tight. Then there's labor shortages, then taxes, then rising operational costs. Imagine running a restaurant where food costs are up, your rent is up, your wages are up, insurance is up, but your customers are spending less because their real wages are down. See, this isn't mismanagement, it's margin compression. It's a full-blown squeeze. Here's the chart that should concern everyone. Total active businesses look flat, but when they remove health and education, the state-backed sectors, the private sector has flatlined since 2020. We're talking about retail, tech, construction, hospitality. As you see, there is no real growth. The only reason the total line looks stable here is because government-funded sectors are expanding. And that isn't balance. It's a structural imbalance where one side feeds the other and the feeder is getting weaker. When tax-producing small and mid-sized businesses stall, government revenues don't magically grow on optimism. They rely on profitability, payrolls, and consumer activity. And if those slow down while public expenditures expand, the gap doesn't disappear, it widens. And that's not equilibrium. It's increasing dependency on a shrinking engine. And the closures? At recent peaks, we saw roughly 45,000 to 50,000 businesses shutting their doors in a single month. That's not normal business turnover. That's a stress surfacing in real time. Behind each closure is payroll lost, unpaid rent, suppliers impacted, communities hollowed out. You don't lose that many businesses in a healthy expansion. Yes, of course, in a healthy economy, that's a normal turnover. That's competition. That's innovation replacing what no longer works. But see, when closures surge into the tens of thousands in a single month, while private sector growth flatlines, that is not normal turnover. That isn't creative renewal. That's attrition. It's your local dry cleaner locking their doors, your corner cafe going dark, your independent bookstore clearing the shelves for good. And that's not the market evolving. That's the foundation thinning out and unfortunately gone forever. And when small businesses disappear, the ripple spreads. Your local accountant loses a client, the sign company loses a contract, the cleaning service loses its reoccurring revenue, and it just cascades from there. Now let's look at Yorkdale as an example. Major anchors like HSBC are gone. Big brands are shrinking or pulling out altogether. So when an anchor leaves, foot traffic drops. When foot traffic drops, smaller tenants struggle. Vacancies clearly rise and landlords start offering incentives. Rents soften, property values adjust downward, municipal tax base weakens, and when commercial tax revenue falls, the shortfall doesn't vanish, it needs to shift, often onto residential homeowners. So even if you've never owned a store, this actually touches you. Retail plazas turn into storage facilities. I'm starting to see a lot of that where I live. Warehouses, condos, some redevelopment is productive. But when community space disappears faster than it's replaced with something dynamic, the neighborhood changes. Character drives desirability. Desirability drives price. Real estate doesn't lead the economy. It always follows it. It follows employment stability. It follows income growth. It follows whether a town feels vibrant or like it's fading. Low inventory can mask weakness for a while. Population growth can prop it up temporarily, but see, long-term property values rest on productivity. We don't just lose storefronts, we lose momentum. And when momentum slows, real estate eventually reflects it. So where does this head? Well, it leads to 3 realistic paths. The first one, the government and large corporations expand further while small businesses continue to disappear. Fewer local employers, fewer independent operators, fewer choices. Second, younger skilled workers look at their wages, taxes, and cost of living, and they'll probably build their futures somewhere else. Third, we course correct. We reduce the cost of doing business. We prioritize production. We rebalance before erosion sets in. Economic decline rarely arrives all at once. It's gradual. One store closes, then a few more. A plaza looks half empty. A mall shuts down. And eventually people ask, how did we get here? When small businesses disappear, communities change. Competition shrinks. Personality fades, uniqueness erodes, and when ownership concentrates into the fewer hands, opportunity narrows. That affects jobs, that affects property values, that affects the kind of future the next generation inherits. Real estate isn't insulated. It follows jobs, it follows income. It follows whether a town feels alive or uncertain. The data points in one direction. The storefronts tell the same story. The one real question is whether we are paying attention or not. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you're seeing where you live. Are stores closing? Are the malls quieter than they used to be? And if you appreciate our content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it helps push our content in front of more Canadians. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.